Hello, in this video we're going to look at the software design and development area of National 5 Computing Science. In particular, we're looking at how we implement code in Visual Studio, and we're looking particularly at computational constructs. There are a list of computational constructs that the SQA indicate a National 5 pupil should be able to achieve, and we're going to go through them individually. We're going to look first of all at how we assign a value to a variable and the sort of expressions that we use to assign a value to a variable. In particular, we're going to be looking at how we do that in the programming code, how we do it via an input box where the user is entering a value and storing it in a variable, and also how we get it from a text box where the user again is entering it into a text box and that's been stored in a variable. So to start off with, we're going to open our program and we're going to add a button to our form. Just a reminder, the button is allocated or located up there. Drag it onto a form. We can resize it or reposition it as we wish. And we're going to change a couple of properties on that button. We're going to change what it says, so the text property, which is down here. We're going to change that to start. And if we hit return, that will be reflected. The button will now say start. And we're also going to change the name of the button. It's good programming practice to give our buttons appropriate names, on all of our objects appropriate names, and we're going to call this CMD start. CMD short for command button, and start obviously indicates that the button will start the program. That's us now. If we hit return, nothing visible is happening at this moment, but if we double click on our button, we'll see in the coding window that it's now private sub CMD start underscore click. So when we click on the button, anything that appears in here, the code that appears in here will be carried out. Now for this particular example, we're going to look at how we store a value in a variable within the program code. So I'm going to pick an example of that, and it's going to be a password. So I've already been asked to enter my password, and I've entered it previously, and the program has now stored that password. So I'm going to write a variable called stored password, and it's going to be a string. Now just to remind you what that little code means. Dim stored password as string. Dim short for declare in memory, set up a space in RAM, which has a name of stored password. And it stores strings. Strings are alphanumeric characters, so it can be a combination of letters and numbers together. And all I'm going to do simply is, bearing in mind what I've said, the password has already been entered previously, so I am going to simply tell the program that the stored password equals, and I entered it previously and it was hello, all lowercase. Now that's happening within the programming code. There's no user input required there. So if you look at that bullet point, we've just assigned a value to a variable in the programming code. That's all. That's how we do it. And we can do that with any value. So for example, in a particular program here, if we were using the value of pi in maths, pi is a constant, there's no change to that particular value, so we could declare a variable called dim pi as a single, which is a decimal number, and we could write that pi equals 3.1415. We don't need to ask the user what the value of pi is because we already know what it is. So that's one way of assigning a value to a variable, by actually storing it in the program without asking the user to enter it. Let's now assume then that we are going to ask the user for their password, and what we're going to do when they enter their password is we're going to compare what they've entered to what's stored. So we need another variable for that, and we're going to say dim user password as string. Okay, so that's set up a variable, declare the variable in memory, called user password, which can store alphanumeric data. And for this particular example, we're going to say that user password equals an input box, and the prompt for that input box is going to be please enter your password. So this is probably the first time that the user, i.e. you, the program writer, will see something happening in the program, because these 3 lines of code here are happening in the background. We don't actually see anything happen with them. The first thing that happens when the button is clicked that we will see is an input box popping up asking us to enter our password. And going back to our presentation, that is how we assign a value to a variable from an input box. So if I run that program, what should happen is that the first 3 lines of the programming code, the 2 dim statements and stored password equals hello, will be carried out in the background. So these are now set up in RAM. The variable or the value hello is stored in RAM, and it's now asking me to enter my password. So I'm going to say goodbye. So what that will do when I click OK is it will take what I've written and it will store goodbye in the variable user password. So if you imagine in memory now we've got two variables, one called stored password, one called user password. Stored password has the value hello and user password has the value goodbye because I've just typed that in. Now a third way that we can do that, we can get rid of that line of code there and we can use what's called a text box. So we'll go back to our form and we'll put a text box on our form. There it is there. Again, similar to a button, we drag it on. A couple of properties that we have to change down the bottom. The name of the text box is going to be txt, short for text box password. And the other thing with text boxes is they don't have any meaning. They're sitting there empty and there's no information about what they are. So we're going to put a label beside it, and the label is going to have the text which says enter password. Okay, so that is a different way of getting information in. And what we're going to do within the start button is we're going to write this time that the stored password equals the name of the text box, txt password, dot text. Now that's slightly different from our input box in that the variable, sorry, it's not stored password, it's user password. The variable user password will equal whatever the text is in that particular text box. So we've called it txt password. Whatever they enter in that particular text box, we're going to store there. So if we run the program now, again, we won't actually see anything happening. Because if we look at the programming code, it's going to set up the two variables in memory. It's going to ask us, or the stored password is going to be hello. And if we enter goodbye and click OK or start, that is then taking what we've put in the text box and storing it in the variable called user password. Let's check that that works then. So if we put an if statement in, so we're going to say if the stored password equals the user password, then we'll have a message box. And that message box will simply say password correct. Else, i.e. if it doesn't equal the user password, we're going to have a message box which says password incorrect. Let's try that then. So if we're running a program, we'll try it with two different answers. We'll try first of all by entering our password as hello, so the two essentially match, so it should say message box password correct, and we'll try then entering a different password, so goodbye. The two won't match, therefore the password should be incorrect. So we'll try hello first. Okay, click on start, and the password has come up correct because what's stored currently is hello and what we've entered is hello, and they match, therefore the password is correct. If we try goodbye, password incorrect, which is as it should be, because the stored password is hello and the user password is goodbye, therefore they don't match and the password is incorrect. So looking back at that, we've been able to assign a value to our program code or in our program code simply by saying stored password equals hello, we're giving it a value in the code. We've been able to assign it via an input box. Again, I'll just put that back in there. So take that one out. I'm just commenting that one out. User password. It was an input box. Please enter password. Okay, so this one here has been commented out, meaning that it won't, the program will ignore that at this point in time. So if we run that again, this way we're doing it, this time we're doing it from an input box. The same should happen, I would think, I hope. Click on start. Please enter your password, hello. They do match, therefore it should say password correct, which it does. And goodbye. This time they don't match, and it should say password incorrect, which it does. So that's us using an input box, and we've also shown you how to do it using a text box by entering the value in the text box, clicking OK. That is how we assign values to variables. And in the next video, we're going to be looking at how we do mathematical operations with values and variables, and how we do things mathematical with them. Hopefully that helps, and we'll see you in the next video.